Welcome to Vendée Live. It is day 22, the start of the 4th week, and we are in the Southern Ocean. We have our first 9 boats rounding the Cape of Good Hope, and it's the very tight group of Boris Herman, of Justine Mitro, Clarice Kramer, all led by Sam Davis, that will be rounding the Cape today. But all the fleet has breeze, so they're all going to be following in their footsteps very shortly. Joining me on today's show, it's a Monday, so we're delighted to have Will Harris with us. New father, how is life with a newborn at home, Will?
Yeah, it's gone very well so far. He's doing very well, and so is his mum. But yeah, it's a change of life for sure, and a bit like the watch systems. But I must say, I'm not getting too involved in the overnight stuff at the moment.
Your time will come, I'm sure. And I'm also excited to say, joining me from Newport, Rhode Island, USA, is Charlie Enright, winning skipper of the Ocean Race last year, and sailing his boat 11th Hour Racing, which is the boat we are seeing now, raced by Sebastian Simon, and currently holds the brand new 24-hour distance record. Charlie, welcome, and you must be delighted to see your old steed doing so well.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me on this wonderful Monday morning. It's been great to watch Seb the last couple days with what's actually, you can see it just, where am I? Over here. There's a little half hull of the boat right there in the background. Yeah, it's been great to see it perform. Obviously, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into the design, the construction, and the development of that boat. And, you know, they've had great conditions, and Seb's a great sailor. So, not surprised to see it throwing down some serious mileage.
And is it bringing me back some good memories of last year and sailing that boat with the team?
Yeah, it certainly is. And our co-host, if you could call him that, if that's the correct technical term, Will, is the 24-hour record holder for model hulls in the crude configuration with Malizia, and we had a good go at it too. And in that leg in the North Atlantic, but it wasn't meant to be. But yeah, I mean, the boat's capable of doing crazy speeds. You know, it'll be interesting to see how it performs when the sea state increases here in this next low pressure system. But a great boat, really brings me back. You know, obviously, you know, wish I was out there on some days, and then kind of happy to be behind my computer screen on others. So all good.
Well, we're definitely going to be tapping into the knowledge that both you and Will have to share with us. But today in the news, we have a birthday in the fleet. Conrad Coleman on MS Amlin is 41 years young today, so we wish him a very happy birthday. And at the front of the fleet, it's been a change of leadership, with Charlie Dallin taking over the lead. But those first 3 boats are in a really tight battle. There's only 30 miles that separates them. And we have to remember on the tracker that the boat furthest south, because it's the shortest course, generally takes the advantage in the rankings. In 6th place today, it was Nico Lundven that closed the gap on Jeremy Bayou, his competitor in front on Charal, and he had a really good night, but he found himself in very different conditions today, as we can see.
So, what happened, my friends? We had a very good night with much more winds than expected, so we did a very nice ride during the night, and we were able to recover something like 40 miles on Charal, Jeremy Bayou, with just, you can't see it, but just the small dot ahead, a few miles ahead of us. But now, since this morning, we are stuck under this cloud. It looks that this cloud is moving in the same way than us, so we are stuck for a few hours now with Jeremy. So we gain a lot. What we gained last night, we are losing it this morning.
Well, we've all been there, haven't we, Will? Tell me, how frustrating. It's almost harder in the light conditions compared to the full-on conditions. How do they deal with it?
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things that sailors always hate, is to be sat there bobbing around in the big waves of the Southern Ocean as well, with not much wind at all. So you know, I guess you've always got to remember it's the long game, it's the long term thing, and one sort of cloud which lasts the morning, like Nico's got there at the moment. He's really got to just just hope that it's gonna pass quickly and he can get back on the road that he wants to be doing. But I think the hardest time is when you don't expect it to come. So he obviously said there he's having a really good night and was expecting to have a nice win this morning, and then suddenly a bit of bad luck and he's not got the win. So I think that's when it can be really mentally frustrating for these sailors. But looking at Nico there, he's nice and calm, and I think he's sailing a great race so far.
Well, I think we all know he's probably one of the calmest people we know. And looking at it, Charlie, when you look at the fleet, it's been like a race of extremes. They've been full sending it one moment and then totally becalmed in surprising conditions the next. And it's pretty impressive how fast they actually did that South Atlantic trip, that conveyor belt that literally launched them into the Southern Ocean. Were you impressed by that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it wasn't the fastest time from Le Sable down to the equator, but they certainly made up for it, hopping on that low pressure a little bit further north than you're normally able to. So, they cut the corner. They had really good sea state. They basically took a low pressure right through the center of where the St. Helena High usually is located. So that got them around the Cape of Good Hope in good time. And yeah, I mean, it's been up, it's been down, certainly. As Will alluded to, I think you got to kind of keep your focus no matter what the condition, because even in the light air, if you eke out of the light air a little bit sooner than your competitors, then you're into the pressure first, and it's generally a rich get richer scenario. But Nico seemed very calm. He's a very calm guy. And, that's the way you got to deal with all these conditions, is just with pragmatism.
And if I take you both back to last year when you were doing the ocean race, one of your fellow competitors was Paul Meilhat on board Biotherm. And he did that race and he felt that he got a chance to really learn his boat and then set it up, so taking that advantage, a little bit like Boris did with Malizia in the race. But then he changed his foils super late, and I feel that he's kind of taken this amount of time to find his comfort zone with the setups. What do you think on that, Will?
Yeah, I think Paul's situation is really interesting. Like you say, Dee, he had that experience of already sailing around the world with the boat, and I think there's nothing more valuable that he could have done in the last 4 years to get ready for the Vendée Globe than to have done that. To test the boat, to go to the Southern Ocean. I think he's one of the skippers who knows his boat the best, and he knows where it's strong and where it's weak. And then before the Vendée Globe, he'd actually damaged his current pair of foils and had to replace them. But he seems to have chosen a pair of foils that goes really well with this boat. And it's been very cool to see how he's been up in that front group and really fighting with the leaders. And I hope that he can keep kind of doing that going into the Southern Ocean and keep pushing like that. But Paul's a very experienced sailor. He's got a few Vendée Globes under his belt already. So he's looking very strong.
It's interesting, Charlie, if we take a look at his position on the rankings today, we can see Paul Meilhat's positioned really nicely, just starting to sail on his own a little bit. And he's lost track of the front runners, but he's positioned pretty well to not be too far behind. He plays the long game, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He's been around the block. He's a very intelligent sailor. Spent a lot of time in that part of the world. He knows his boat very well. We actually had the same set of foils that he damaged during the transatlantic. They were really good foils, really forgiving, good all-around foils. And I'm sure if he's changing away from something like that, he's pretty confident in the improvements. And I think we'll only see him get better as this race plays out. So Paul's a great sailor. It was great sailing against him. Great competitor, good friend, and obviously wish him all the best here.
Well, we're hoping to link with him at some stage during this programme. But before we do that, Will, you'll be pleased to know that I managed to have a chat with Boris today. And he's probably had the biggest move up the rankings overnight. And I was interested to see how he felt and what the conditions were like now, because he's just approaching the Cape of Good Hope. That's his position there, and we're going to see him round that.
So far, everything is good with the boat. I just had put this small gennaker up and put a reef, and I'm now ready for the south with this setup. And starting to get used to it just as we speak. Difficult sea state here with the Agulhas current, and the boat doesn't really move very fast at the moment. So trying to find out how to set it up to get through these short waves here. If I make fast progress at 100%, I get quite smoothly east. If I'm slower, then I may end up in strange positions towards the low pressures, maybe a bit upwind even, and so I'm trying to stick to it and to move fast east as I can, and I really look step by step.
You must be looking forward to getting that first big low so that you can push on.
Well, we already have quite a wind. I have 26, sometimes 29 knots. Average wind is 24, 5. So yeah, this is just a good wind that we are moving fast with, already a reef and small Janaker. So we don't need more wind than that. we don't get much quicker if we have more wind. But yeah, it's definitely the sea state. This part of the Indian Ocean here is known to be difficult, and I'm really looking forward to get east, to get in the rhythm of the south, and to gain confidence, and to get kind of a restart of the race for me. It starts here, from the real Vendée Globe kind of starts, and I hope in this month of December to make it all the way to Cape Horn and around Cape Horn on the 1st of January.
So quite an upbeat, respective view from Boris there, and I'm going to get Will's reaction from that a little later on. But I'm really pleased to say that the skipper, Paul Meilhat, on board Biotherm is with us today. We can have a look at his position on the chart so we can see where he is. He's rounded the Cape of Good Hope, he's in the Southern Ocean, just sailing on his own, just behind Nico Lumven and Jeremy Bayou, and we can go live to him now. Hello, Paul. How is life on board Biotherm?
Hello. Actually, the wind just arrived a few hours ago. So I'm really happy because the last 2 days were terrible with no wind, and I'm just below low pressure, and I hope to stay with this low pressure the much as possible.
That's right, you've had a very difficult 2 days of transition, so it must be nice to be moving and stretching your legs fast.
Yeah, it's really hard because I think this ocean, the Indian Ocean, forecast is maybe the most complicated in the Vendée Globe because there's a lot of interaction with South Africa, and I think we are just crossing in a really bad moment because the South Indian convergence zone is really active, and we have a lot of little low pressure coming from the north, and it's really hard to deal with that.
Well, we know the Indian Ocean's really difficult. How do the next few days take your mind? Because it looks like it's going to get strong conditions midweek.
Yeah, first I'm really happy to catch because I arrived to catch this low pressure to get as north as possible to avoid the max of wind. Max of wind is expected, I think, in 3 days, and I will be able to avoid the really bad condition, I think. So I'm happy about that.
Oh, that's good news. And apart from the big conditions, I think you were the first person to see an albatross, a sign of the Southern Ocean. What do you love about the Southern Ocean?
A day like today is now it's not really true because I am just in front of the low pressure, so it's raining a lot and really great. But the Indian Ocean is really great often. But yesterday was nice because there was some sun sometimes, and we are sailing with a lot of birds around us, a lot of albatross. And actually now I'm pushing. I have a big swell coming from southwest and pushing me. So it's not a bad sea. It's a really huge swell and with long periods. So it's nice to sail.
So at least it's a comfortable ride for you. I've got Charlie Enright with me, and he's got a question for you, Paul.
Hey, Paul, I was wondering if you had the coffee cup. Huh? I used to borrow a coffee cup from Paul and his team before every leg at the end of the ocean race. And I was wondering how the coffee is down there.
Yeah, I remember that. It was a Marty, it's a boat builder, because in Brazil you took one coffee and the cheese made with us, and after you win all the legs, so it was good for you. Yeah, I have a coffee cup, but it's not the same. It's in plastic. But you know, the French coffee is always too strong for Americans.
Well, it's good to see you down there doing so well and finding the wind, and it sounds like the conditions are great on the front of this this low pressure. So hopefully it's good gains for you in a boat that you know well and a part of the world that you also know well. So I wish you the best, my friend.
Thanks very much, Sonny.
Oh, Paul, it's really good for you to join us. Clearly fueled by coffee in the right cup. So maybe talking to Charlie there is going to be good luck for you to keep pushing fast, ride this low. Thank you for joining us. Be safe, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah. Thanks very much, I hope. Bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, so good to see Paul smiling there. He seems pretty happy with his race so far. Charlie, you stole his cup, you drank his coffee, and then you won all the legs after that, and he hasn't forgotten.
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't actually plan on asking that question, but I looked down and I saw the coffee cup there. But yeah, I started borrowing a coffee cup from someone on their team named Marty in Brazil, and we won 3 legs in a row, and then they stopped giving me the coffee cup. And it's just one of those funny things that happens between teams and people that you get to know so well, sailing against over the course of the year. You know, as competitors, obviously, but particularly in that part of the world, you're more than just competitors. You're each other's lifeline. So you develop these unbelievable relationships over time. And I can only believe that is a magnified phenomenon when you're out there doing it by yourself. So yeah, just Paul's a great guy. You know, he always does things right. And it's great to see him, you know, embarking on this Vendée Globe adventure in a pretty good condition with a great boat. In a part of the world, like I said, that he knows well.
Well, he definitely hasn't forgotten that coffee. And somebody else that's forming relationships on this race in a tight battle is Alan Rora, and he's battling with Giancarlo Pedotti, and he's chasing Isabel Josh. And you can see this tight pack as he's pushing his way fast and furious towards the Cape of Good Hope. And I spoke to him this morning to find out how he was feeling.
Yeah, I'm quite tired, but it's been the last 3 days were really nice. We've got good condition, some wind. We can manage to make the boat a bit fly, and actually it's really cool because we're really close to each other, even if we're on the not on the good part of the fleet, because the good part they're like 2,000 miles away. But it's cool. There is a lot of game, and yeah, pretty happy to get on the Southern Ocean. Actually, that's cool.
Is this your opportunity to gain some positions?
So yeah, it's hard to find a good position in with the big depression we will find on a few days. But yeah, it's really nice actually, the condition out here. Starts to be cold, but we've got 15 to 20 knots downwind. Yeah, it's unbelievable. So pretty easy to sail for the moment.
Are you enjoying the race? But I can see clearly you're loving it.
Yeah, I love it. There is some days really hard because you know that they're fast in front, and it will be really hard to catch up. And at one point, everything is possible on that race. So I'm pushing my boat. I try to sail properly, make some good strategy, and enjoy it. And I really enjoy it for the moment. I'm having some good friends around. Giancarlo is pushing me up to be faster too. Isabel is not far now, and yeah, I think it's pretty cool. We will be a bit of a fleet to get off of that group and to try to catch the others. So it's pretty fun. It's a race on the race.
A race within the race, and we've got lots of those happening. Will, when you're not at the front, is it frustrating? And how do you stay positive? You know, how do they work this so that they keep pushing each day, even when they see the leaders thousands of miles ahead of them?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting moment in the race for all of the fleet, actually, as kind of they're all at that entering the Southern Ocean type stage of the race. So, you know, this is where they know the conditions are going to be tough for a long time, and it's the moment where the miles can sort of jump out and get really big, like Alan was describing there, being 2,000 miles behind the leaders, and sometimes it all closes up and you get much closer together again. But I think what they all really need to do and really think about is it's another month in the Southern Ocean. How are they going to break it up? How are they going to set themselves little goals to get through each day and to keep pushing as hard as they can, really, to try and catch up, even when they're a bit further behind. So I think Alan's doing a really good job there. He looks really happy. He looks in a good mindset, and he knows he's a bit further behind, but he's definitely not got that little vision of the fact that he can still catch up, and the race is still very long. So I think they've really got to break up the Southern Ocean now to not go crazy, I think, firstly, but also to try and sail the best race they can.
Yeah, it's all about manageable chunks, and somebody that's looking at the next chunk ahead of them is Jon Richomme, and he's got that big decision of that depression that's coming to the front of the fleet midweek, so just a few days away, and I spoke to him to find out what lay ahead.
I expect 2 tricky days with a little bit of a transition, and there's another slight low pressure in front of the big one, so I'm going to try and ride that one as well if I can, but I might be a bit late, I don't know. And try and place myself to the northeast of this big low pressure coming in, because that's going to bring in some 7-8 meter swell. So I don't want to get caught in over 40 knots. And that's going to be a major element of this end of the week, obviously. And we are all expecting that and all trying to place ourselves for that. And the strategies are going to be a bit different depending on how far east we are. But it looks like a pretty massive one. So it's nothing unmanageable, I think, as long as we don't get in the worst part of it.
So let's look at what he was talking about. The overall picture here, we've got the leaders looking to set themselves up. We've got this fleet here where we've had these tricky conditions. They've had light patches. Nico Lundven was in that patch with Jeremy Bayou when we spoke to them. Boris Herrmann there talking about sailing quite nicely. And it's this group that are rounding the Cape of Good Hope that have got this frontal system that they're riding, cloudy conditions, but good breeze. And then the approach. This group of the daggerboard boats are riding this front system. That's accelerating them, giving them a really nice course forwards. And if we look at the front of the course, this little kink in the isobar there is that production of a little low that Jon Richomme was talking about. Oh, I could get a ride on that one before the big one comes. And if we look at the big one, when we look at this footage, we can see here at the Kerguelen Islands here, as they come north of the Kerguelen Islands, this big low pressure builds. The boats to the north have slightly less wind but easier conditions. As you get further south, the gusts are in excess of 45 knots. The waves are massive, and that's where the risk is. So that's where they're trying to position themselves for the easiest run. Somebody that spoke to me about that low pressure front that they're riding with the daggerboard fleet coming up to the Cape of Good Hope was Giancarlo Pedotti.
So guys, right now we are here in front of the low pressure, and this is the scenario. Very cloudy sky, poor visibility. The sea state is quite nice, and the boat is very, very fast. Have a nice day.
Cruising along at 23 knots there, he was one happy person. So looking at the rankings, we see our front three within 30 miles of each other. And then we see the next group, we've got patches of twos. We've got Jeremy Biao and Nico Lumven together, Sam Goodchild and Yannick Bestevan together, and then this group of cluster of Sam down to Clarice Kramer, all sailing together and within sight of each other. Further down, we've got the rest of the leading of the Daggerboard fleet is Jean Le Cam, and we've got Alan Rora and Giancarlo Pedotti are riding that front in decent breeze now. All of these boats now are anticipating their entry into the Southern Ocean. And at the back of the fleet, we've got Xabi 4,000 miles behind now, but keeping together are Denny van Weinberg and Jackie, who we spoke to yesterday, doing a really good job. Now, Will, we listened to Boris. He talked quite positively about setting his goal for the 1st of January to be out of the Southern Ocean. He's been really open about how frustrated he's been recently. Has it been quite hard communications within the team, or have you had to work hard to keep him positive?
Yeah, it's a tricky one because obviously we can't speak to him too much with the rules. We can only help him technically. We can't help him with any sort of performance or mindset things. But it's been really interesting to see what he's sort of been sending back to shore, really, of how his feelings have gone. And yeah, like you say, through the week, it's been hard for him not having much wind, and he really was quite open about that and showing how he was really wanted some wind. And it's really hard to see the leaders jumping up ahead. But it was good to see that video earlier where he's really showing that he's setting himself up for this next low pressure. The first kind of big test, I would say, of the Vendée Globe is them sailing in this big storm. And I think he's hopefully seeing it as an opportunity where he can catch up some miles on those leaders. And it's really going to be about the different strategies. Johan was mentioning it there earlier as well. It's a question of, do you go further north? Do you go further south? Sail a shorter course, but be in stronger conditions. And I think that's what Boris is probably thinking about at the moment. How much is he willing to risk to gain back some miles? And at what point does he, want to kind of jump for it and see how it goes? But good to see he's got a nice positive mindset, and he knows that this race is still long. So yeah, I look forward to seeing where he's at in a week's time.
Well, Will, your insight there is, really good to hear, and testament to your preparation for the boat and for Boris for this race. And thank you for joining us on a Monday. Charlie, just coming to you, following this race, who's been your surprise standout performance to date?
I'd like to say Seb Simon in what was previously our boat in the ocean race, the Malama. He was a little later to the game and had some qualification to do, and I think was sailing a little bit conservatively up until the start of the Vendée Globe. And he seems to have really found his feet, and he's right there in that top group. And if he can stay in the same weather, I think he's got a good shot at it. When the sea state increases, I don't expect that boat to be as performant as maybe some of the others in that front pack. But if you can keep it close, the boat's really fast from Cape Horn back to the finish. I just wish Seb and his team all the best. It's been a remarkable journey that they've been on since acquiring the platform. And it's just great to see him kind of doing so well.
Alone in sharing that opinion, because I think even Johan Richon today actually commented on what a standout performance Seb Simon was doing, and probably the overperformer if you were looking at the form list before the start of the race. And let's not forget, last edition of the race, he didn't make it past Cape Town. He had damage to a foil and retired. So as a performance in the Southern Ocean, he is doing an impressive job. So let's hope he can hold on to that pack. Charlie, I really want to thank you for your time this morning and your insight and your memories. One last question on a yes and no. You've won a round the world race. You know what it's like to sail these boats. Are we going to see you on your own in the Vendée Globe one day?
I don't know. My guess would be probably not.
No,
but
I'm going to hold you there. You said, I don't know. That's good enough for us. Maybe we will see you. Never say never.
If you wanna hang on that, go for it.
I really want to thank you both for your time today. My guests, Will Harris and Charlie Enright. Now, my week has come to an end. This is my last day. I'm relinquishing the hot desk back to the boss. He's back in town tomorrow. So you're in safe hands. Thank you for bearing with me and allowing me to learn on the job. It's certainly a different position to what I'm used to. So I want to say thank you, but I will be back. Good behaviour, I'm allowed back again to give Andy another break. But enjoy the show with Andy, and thank you very much for listening.